Murder suspect. Disappearance. Could be any film. Psychopath. Emotional manipulation.
Come on! It can be anything. Batman. So I sat my flatmate down yesterday and watched Succession from the beginning.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, so I watched the first episode. I've seen all 3 seasons, as you know.
Yeah.
As have you. And I went back and watched the first one, which is always strange when you watch a show that has established itself. And
You
it's
know the characters better than they do.
The characters, and it's very famous as well, and a very big, successful show. And also a show like Succession really hit its stride quite early on. But still, in that first episode, it's always interesting to see how much has changed. And I always notice this with shows, particularly American shows, where the first episode, there are just things in it that aren't there later on.
Right.
It's not that things have changed now. It's that, when shows are written, typically you write a pilot, right? And it's usually written by only 1 or 2 people. And then when it's picked up and expanded, that's when
pitch, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a pitch, right? And that when it's picked up and expanded, that's when a wider team of writers come on. And often what you'll notice in shows is that in episode 2, there's like a change, and you notice the sort of introduction of different things and things that slightly weren't there in the first episode. So with Succession, in the first episode, I was just interested to spot loads of things. I was like, that's not there anymore. The first thing I noticed is that Roman has a girlfriend in it, a partner in the first episode. It's just not named. She's just there. And there's a child running around, and you're like, is that Roman's child? Does Roman have a child? I don't think he does. But in this episode, it's sort of like there's a woman there with a child, and he's like, it's his girlfriend. So it's really strange.
They
just write it out.
They won't remember.
Yeah. Moving on. And Marsha, Marsha, the character, the Logan's wife.
Yes.
She is called Marcia in the first episode.
Okay.
Some characters call her Marcia, and some characters call her Marcy. And it's really confusing having known that character now. That at one point Kendall goes like, Morrissey on the board, that's absolutely fine. And you're like, whoa.
That's one of those like Mandela effect things where you see the logo and some the FedEx arrow, and you're like, now I can't not see the FedEx arrow.
Yes, that's not the Mandela effect though.
What is it?
Well, the Mandela effect, which was first introduced to me in a film called PULP Kitchen, really good film.
Yeah.
And there's a bit in there talking about it. I was like, I've never heard about this. I'll give you the Mandela effect is a phenomenon, like a cultural phenomenon where people misremember things from the past as having happened when they didn't. So never existed. So it's called the Mandela effect because there's this, apparently loads of people were of the opinion and believed categorically that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s.
Oh, right.
Or, for example, people misremember that the logo for Fruit of the Loom represented a cornucopia when actually it didn't. They're very specific examples that if you don't believe in it, then you just don't get it because you're like, well, Nelson Mandela didn't die in the 1980s, and I've never seen that logo, so I don't know. But getting back to so what you're talking about though is like
logos.
No, you're talking about paradigm shift, which is where you've seen something you can't unsee it.
Yeah,
it's fundamentally changed the way you see something. But the Mandela effect is different. Anyway, getting back to Succession.
I'm talking about like a Sporkle game I once played where it was like the Paramount Pictures logo, and it was like the mountain that it is, and then there's like one with like a shining star on top, and you're like, oh, like is that the logo? And it's one of those ones where you can't even remember what it was, and this is a logo that you've seen 1,000 times in your life. Yeah. That's what I was referring to. Right. But yours sounds a lot more historically accurate.
I think we're out of our depth.
Yeah.
But with Succession, so there's all that stuff in it. Connor is slightly different in this. They have him as slightly more passive and docile. He's there in a nice jumper, and he's like, hey, I don't want any part of this. Whereas the Connor that we know in the later seasons is much more of a buffoon, quite arrogant, thinks he can be president. I don't know, maybe this was the plan all along, but I just find it interesting when you watch shows that the first episode is like, here's a presentation of ideas, and shows get picked up, and sometimes, 90%, 95% of it goes through, but there's always that 5% that isn't carried over. And you see an echo of like a different version of what the show could have been.
I remember the opening couple, I want to say 2 episodes of Succession season 1 being a little bit tame and ever so slightly slow. And it's a lot of like waiting around in the hospital. And it's that thing that we talked about before where you start your story in the dark, like the literal dark, and it's very disorienting. You're not presenting these characters in the light, and then it takes till like episode 3 for you to really understand like what everyone wants and what the political position is. Because I rewatched season 1 with my girlfriend when season 2 was going to come out, and I was like, no, when season 3 was going to come out, I was like, I'd happily rewatch this, but I noticed like this is a bit slow. But I loved, one of the main things that stood out to me was how different, what a different place Kendall is in at the beginning of that whole series than he is, especially at the end of or the whole of season 2. And just like the character he is when he goes to that bathroom and he realizes he's not going to get what he wants, and he screams into that pillow and smashes up the bathroom, and you're just like, what a different character, like completely different. It's almost like a Walter White style transformation when you see him in season 2 and like the version of himself he becomes. And like there's such a great moment in season 2 when Shiv and Roman are like what did he get to you? Like what the fuck? Like what did Dad say? And Roman is just like a shell of himself, and he just can't
Kendall,
even communicate.
Kendall,
it's completely gone. And then again, like the end of season 2 is obviously so cathartic for the same reasons.
I mean, that's I remember episode 2 of season 1 when they're in the hospital being like, is this like a bottle episode? I remember getting quite frustrated. I was like, I want to get out into the city. I was getting a bit tired of sort of the hijinks between the siblings.
And similarly with Logan, right? The first shot of the whole series is him confused in the dark, peeing on the carpet.
Yeah, which just on that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been watching Succession. I've watched it all. There was a point in halfway through season 3 where I was like, he was meant to be ill. This whole series began with him being like ill. He's turning 80, and he's going to be like on his last legs, and he's ill. And that illness is like, and he has this brain hemorrhage at the first episode, and then it's kind of he gets back from the hospital, and then like he's basically back as he was before.
And you know, there's that scene in the party where he's quick to lose his temper, like you know, sort of a confused old person would be. Yeah, I think that's completely intentional. He gets sharper. Everyone expected him to deteriorate, and he became sharper.
You think it's deliberate, right?
And more like ready for war. Like if you look at the end of season 3 and the move that he played on all of them, it was like the ultimate broad bird's eye strategic move to completely fuck his children. It's like he is. We were told he's always steps ahead of everyone else, but like that proved it. And even that moment where I was like, at the end of season 3, we're like, let's go. Like, yeah, we're gonna get Dad for everything, right? And they're all like in the car calling people, like, yeah, fuck that guy. We're gonna stop him. We can do this, right? Like we can get him.
Totally fuck Dad, all right.
And then there's obviously the Tom thing, but then they go and they're just completely ambushed. Yeah. And it's like sorry, that whole scene was like Churchill's war room. All the people in the laptops running around.
I think what I meant is that like I thought it would be like a Walter White like narrative where like he is dying, but like he's also like that's all he can be doing all this stuff, but he's simultaneously dying at the same time.
I wonder if the end will be him dying.
It's
pretty likely that he will leave some sort of trail in his wake that will have.
This doesn't, as long as he's alive,
or someone kills him.
Problem. Yeah.
Or like, anything could happen.
What would Kendall do?
We're gonna fucking take him out. I got a fucking hitman, but like have fun, right?
What's he like? What's he like at his birthday party?
He's like, you know, we're here to fucking work hard, but like, you know, have fun, right?
Take your jacket off.
Take your fucking jacket off.
I love it. My favorite one is when he's he's trying to pitch something to someone, and they're like, "Oh, so it's kind of like this," and he's like, "Yeah, that's the straight leg Chino way of putting it." Fucking Roman. Anyway, so that was my observation.
You're gonna watch the whole way through.
I will dip in. I mean, the great thing about Succession is that it's so dense with dialogue and so thick, and it's just you miss so much, and there's so much to be enjoyed. But what I love is I'm showing it to my flatmate who loves the thick of it. And I've been saying to him for ages, if you like the thick of it, which Jesse Armstrong wrote on, you should really watch Succession because it's got that kind of serious side of it. Yeah. It's got the aggression, it's got the swearing, but it's also very funny. And he was like laughing every single minute of episode 1. And I was like, if you're like this now, hey.
And it's also a great show when you watch it with a friend or partner, like at the end of the episodes when, you know, classic Succession, tight shot on someone's face and the piano theme just rolls the credits. You just want to be like, you see, isn't it amazing? Because that and this, you just want to go over every single interaction and dissect it. And it's so great for that. Yeah. Dum, 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 dum. No, it's often they end on a reduced version of their theme. They hold it back at the end, and it just lets you go, and then it just cuts you off. You're like, I need more. It's a great show, man. We're not going to get next year, probably more Succession.
Probably next year, I think. I wanted to get back to last week. We said contact us with questions and hot takes and whatever. And just thought I'd read out some correspondence we got.
We send out our email, which is hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. If you want to be a part of the show, you can also email that email address.
So last week we were talking about rom-coms. Do you remember when I said about, I Saw I Want You Back, and I couldn't remember the name of it?
Yep.
Dan in Cirencester got in contact about
Hey, Dan.
a film that he says is one of his guilty pleasures.
Okay.
I'm going to read the message as it was. Just listen to your latest episode on the subject of rom-coms. There's one that is my guilty pleasure that I think doesn't fall into the usual stereotypical rom-com category. And it's a film called Like Crazy. Have you heard of this one?
No.
Oh, yeah, I remember. It came out about 10 years ago. It's got Anton Yelchin and Felicity Jones and a very early career Jennifer Lawrence. And it's shot quite low budget, very low budget indie.
Okay.
And it's about a couple kind of in a long distance relationship. I haven't seen it. That's what I remember from the trailer. As Dan says here, it's a small budget independent film made about 10 years ago, but I found it was very honest, and even the ending, it didn't give it the traditional rom-com tropes. But the reason I mention it was made without a script. So most of the interactions and dialogue you see is improvised between the actors on screen, which is why I think there's a more genuine feel to it, but something I thought we might both enjoy.
That does sound good.
That does sound good. I mean, I always think it's a massive risk if you do improvised stuff on film. I mean, like Linklater, a lot of people say about his work, it looks very improvised. It's like, no, it's actually incredibly rehearsed. So rehearsed to the point that it feels natural.
Larry David says the same. People often say his stuff is more improvised than it actually is.
Because it looks improvised, but it's not. I bet it's rehearsed
It's just like naturalistic in acting.
Yeah.
It's
So I haven't seen that, but I want to just talk about that. It's reminded me of like, have you seen Blue Valentine?
No.
I feel like this era, like 2011, 2012, it was all about the era of the sad romance film, the sad romantic film.
Yeah, it was. I wonder why.
I don't know.
Because we were happier?
I don't know,
And
James. I don't know. but Blue Valentine.
Yeah, I know
was
of the film, but
you ever seen it? Oh, it's the
no.
Ryan Gosling and the Michelle Williams, and it's like,
Yeah.
we're in love and now we run. It's really sad.
It's not every
Derek
film.
Chanfrance, I think, film. Yeah. So, Like Crazy, we'll add it to the list. Thanks, Dan, for getting in contact.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Also, I say romance and romantic often interchangeably, but actually I'm drawing on my English degree here when they say that actually they're not the same thing. When people say romance as a genre, they are misremembered. That's actually the name of, like, in like literature, that's like 11th century knights, damsel in distress, like chivalry. That's a romance tale.
Right.
Whereas romantic is more like 18th century poets, Byron, Shelley, that kind of like overflowing of feeling into poetry. Different words that are often interchangeable, but different genres.
Oh, interesting. But we call those films romance all the time.
Yeah, because being romantic is having a feeling of romance, but to talk about that's a romance film is technically. I think
actually, I think
I know.
you're...
Listen to me, it's terrible. I'm just saying.
that was
look, I've been carrying that fact around in my head for ages, and I don't know. I don't have anyone say it to me.
just
I can't say it here.
When
When the
start
hell
a
can I say it?
podcast to get it out there.
Anyway, if you have any other hot takes or recommendations that we should be checking out, let us know. We can't wait to hear from you.
Please do.
Just a quick one.
This episode of Pulp Kitchen is brought to you by Noggin HQ.
Noggin HQ is a hot new credit referencing agency for Gen Z and millennials. They are revolutionizing the way that credit scoring is done by making it cheaper, simpler, and easier.
If you're interested, you're under 30, and you want to start building a better credit score, follow @Noggin HQ now on all social media platforms. Back to the show. Speaking of rom-coms, I went to go see Worst Person in the World yesterday in cinema, and I liked it so much. I think it's my favorite film that I've seen this year so far.
Whoa! Hold the phone. Okay.
Really, really loved it.
Okay, back up, because I have just seen this film talked about. I don't know anything about it. All I've had is people texting me going, "You got to see Worst Person in the World. Tell me about it. Why should I see it? What's going on?"
It's really good. It's called Worst Person in the World, and it's sort of a rom-com / coming-of-age tale for people turning 30. And it stars this woman called Julia. It's kind of not Julia, but it's like Julie. Okay. This amazing actress who I'm now completely obsessed with called Renata Reinsve. And it's directed by Joachim Trier. And this film essentially follows this girl from her 20s into the time she turns 30. And it has this very like chapter 1, this, chapter 2, that thing, and it follows her. And she's this kind of person who never really sees anything through. She starts off studying medicine and then switches to psychology and then switches to photography. Tell me about it. That's an in-joke about my life. But essentially, you know what? I actually don't want to tell you too much about the plot because there's so many wonderful elements of this which reveal itself to you. And I can more just tell you about like what it's about. I said it is such a coming of age tale for people turning 30. If you're like in your mid to late 20s and you're having a little bit of a crisis about life and the kind of decisions you're making, this is going to leave you so confused. But I really, really thought it was so brilliant. The writing is some of the most like honest and like delicate and heartfelt I've ever seen. I really, really believed in these characters. Like, yes, it is beautifully shot, and yes, like the way in which it portrays its characters is so beautiful, but it also has these, I want to say almost 500 days, 500 was it 500 Days of Summer? Is that the film?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, you know how that had little sequences where like, you know how he did the expectation reality in that? Not quite as turned up to that, but it has these sequences where it uses that perspective to tell its story.
Okay, so it's quite formally inventive within its, within that.
It allows itself to indulge in artistic flair without it being too just distracting. And this is the kind of person who describes herself as someone who always self-narrativizes her own life. And she's always like thinking, oh, that's what you would do if you were doing this. And there is this very, very slight voiceover from herself in the future talking about the things she's doing now. So it'll be like, she'll have said something like, oh, I never really wanted to do that thing to you. And the voice will be like, yeah, well, she always said those kinds of things, that she never wanted to do that. And it's like, you know how in our own heads, we're all like all sort of Truman Show-esque, thinking that we're the center of the universe and we self-narrativize our own life. Yeah. And like, I don't want to go into plot details, but what it is essentially about is like, is the relationship you're in the right one for you? Like, is that person the one that got away where you were meant to be? And it's the whole idea of like who you're actually meant to be with, the most like toxic and overwhelming thing to actually try and think about in life. And then she's, you know, in her mid to late 20s when the film really starts to pick up, and there's this whole idea of like, should she be wanting to have children? And if your partner doesn't, is that like the biggest thing ever? And I just think like there's so many moments of that where that actress, who I think is absolutely incredible, and she's definitely going to go on to be a huge star, is able to portray so many amazing and complex emotions in such a varied film. And I'm like, you've accomplished so much by making me really like feel and know exactly who you are. And me and Talia just both left it. We stood up, walked out, we're like, I loved it. Absolutely. Did you love it? Yeah, absolutely loved it. And it got me straight away. I was immediately connected with that character. And like I don't want to say more plot, because the plot I think is really like there to be discovered.
Well, a couple of things just to react to that. First of all, okay, I absolutely want to see it.
Yeah,
I absolutely want to see it, and I want to give you my reaction. So like, put a pin in that, and I'll get back to it.
And like, I'd love to discuss like the intrinsic like sequences and the plot elements that evolve, because I don't want to spoil it for you, and you'll be glad that I haven't.
And it's a Norwegian film.
Set in Oslo. Sorry, I should have mentioned it's Norwegian language as well.
Set like modern day
Oslo. Right. Yeah.
Well, what I was thinking of when you're describing it, sounds to me like on the one hand, it's got, when you talk about someone in their sort of 20s and maturing to their 30s and reaching a sort of crisis point, reminds me a bit of like Noah Baumbach territory. Do you ever see Frances Ha or Mistress America?
No, I need to go
with Greta Gerwig in both of those. But like, I mean, I've seen Mistress America most recently, and in that she plays a character that speaks and performs as one would expect her to, as she clearly thinks she should, but is actually completely having a crisis on the inside. You know, it's the kind of person, and the whole film is told from the perspective of someone who's just started college. So she looks up to Greta Gerwig's character as like having all the answers, but actually Greta Gerwig's character is falling apart. And she'll say things like, it's all about music now. Did you know that the album is the new novel? And little things she's picked out of articles. And also when you're talking about like that sort of coming of age, what you're making it sound like is a coming of age story that is told, that manages to connect in a very universal way without reminding you of very coming of age tropes that seems to be very refreshing. And I feel like that was a film that I got through Lady Bird. In the same way that was very unique and specific, but also felt
grounded and real in the way. And
managed to follow and hit a lot of emotional beats along the way. Is that fair?
Like really fair. That sounds bang on. And like the way that you this film portrays conversations in a couple, the things that couples do. Obviously, like every couple's different, but you recognize so many like universal ways in which like you resolve conflict, or the way in which physical intimacy works. Like the sex is really like accurate and feels like true to life of like kinds of sex you would have in certain scenarios. And like there's this one moment which isn't revealing what this is, and that there was just one chapter of this film which was so beautifully and intricately woven together, is this moment where she leaves her boyfriend's party and she's walking through the streets of Oslo, and she looks in on all these other young people like on the balconies having parties, and she sees this sort of, I think it's a wedding, and she's like looking into, she's walking past all of these windows seeing all these other people having fun. And it's such a simple way to make this person look like she's really isolated from normal friendships and normal conversation. And she goes into this party that she wasn't invited to and just walks in. And there is a chapter which is just, I thought after that chapter, I thought, oh my God, that was so beautifully and truthfully told, and the way in which each shot folded into the next in that whole sequence, which was maybe about 5-6 minutes long, was so well done. You sort of, I was sort of like sat back and smiled. I was like, I'm really into this movie.
Okay, don't say anymore.
I don't want to say
I will go
anymore.
watch it. But what I'm also smiling about is because talking about this, about how well it depicts relationships and an interaction and attraction, and we were talking about other romantic films, and we were talking...
They were lacking almost. Well,
and like, you know, and you do realize, Dave, I'm going to say this now, we're building up to watching those before films, because I mention them every week in different contexts, and just hearing you talk about it again, I was thinking, well, James hasn't seen the Before trilogy, so it's coming up. There's going to be a week where you and I are going to have to do those. Okay?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd absolutely love to. We should find a non-release week. There'll be loads of those, but you know what I mean, like a non-big film release week. But
stay tuned for those who have seen it.
I wonder if by the time this comes out, it might not be out in cinemas as much, but I'm sure you'll be able to watch it in the coming weeks. Don't miss Worst Person in the World. It's really, really good. Me and Tally were like, I want to rewatch it. I want to watch it in like a couple of months and like redigest it with the knowledge that you have.
What am I doing sat here recording with you? I just want to go.
I'm pretty sure that is the best one I've seen of the year so far. Top of my head. All right, George, we're going to finish up with a little cheeky game. We've played this one before. This is IMDb keyword countdown. You were very good last time, so hopefully these are a little bit harder. And if you haven't heard this game before, I borrowed it from this amazing guy who invented it called Gav Murphy he now does RKG, but he used to do Prepare to Try. So full credit goes to him for this game, but it's really, really good. I'm a huge fan of his. Okay, George.
So this is round 2 then?
This is round 2.
I did okay last time.
You did really good. If you don't know how this game goes, on IMDb, you can scroll all the way to the bottom of the website, and they have this list of something like 400 keywords, and all of them are really weird. And what you do with this game is I've chosen 10 keywords, 10 for each film, and you have to try and guess what film I'm talking about based on the keywords that I read out roughly every 3 seconds.
Okay.
If you get it on the first keyword, you get 10 points.
Right.
Second keyword, 9 points. Third keyword, 8 points, and so on.
So basically, the more clues you're given, the less points you score.
Yes.
And these keywords are on IMDb. Are they randomly generated, or people who put them in? They're like search tags, aren't they?
They're like search tags that a film would use. So, like, if it was Toy Story, it would be like Alive When Away. Like Spaceman, Cowboy.
Yeah.
Plot to destroy stuff. And all these really weird things that I've actually done a very good job. But, okay, we're going to go with the first one. Okay, guess the film. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Nazi occupation.
Inglourious Bastards.
Puppet show. Surrogate mother. Teenage girl. World War II.
Yeah, I got that. Thanks. Puppet show.
Single father.
Single father. What? I'm
based
lost.
on stage musical.
The Producers.
Good night.
Mr. Tom. No, I'm just...
Singing Family.
Sound of Music.
On the last one. There you go.
The puppet show threw me. The puppet show threw me. I know it's in there.
Yeah, you got it. That's one.
There's a really funny line in The Sound of Music. I don't know why, but absolutely made me laugh out loud when I heard it, which is there's a bit where I think she's been sent away for a bit, and it's like, you know, really sad, and like all the children are like really miserable and hungry, because normally like she would feed them at this time. And the littlest kid, who's called, I don't know, like, you know, whatever. He's like young and blonde haired. He's probably like 4.
Hans.
And they're talking about how hungry they are, and he just goes, I wonder what grass tastes like.
Yeah, I remember that line.
All right, I completely messed up on that one. Didn't get very good. Give me another one.
Ready? Guess the film in 3, 2, 1. First person narration.
It could be anything.
Painting. Prison escape.
Shawshank Redemption.
Mentor protege relationship.
Is it Escape Plan with De Niro and Sylvester Stallone? Do you remember that?
Murder.
Come on.
Art theft. Fictional country.
Come on. You're trying to tease me. You're winding me up.
Nosebleed.
Stranger Things. Come on. Come on.
Lobby boy.
Hotel.
Hotel.
Ocean's 11.
Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh.
I've gone too hard on him. I've gone too hard on him.
That's really hard.
That was it. That was all of them. So you didn't get that one.
Did anyone get that?
So just to go through again, it was first-person narration, painting, prison escape, mentor protege relationship, murder, art theft, fictional country, nosebleed, lobby boy, hotel. That's a bagel for George.
Now round 3, I'm gonna get you.
Round 3. Number 3. Ready? Guess the film in 3, 2, 1. Murder suspect. Disappearance.
Could be any film.
Psychopath.
Silence of the Lambs.
Neo-noir.
Sin City.
Emotional manipulation.
Come on. It can be anything. Batman.
Infidelity.
The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight. Infidelity. You're just naming things.
Missing wife.
Is it a Nolan film? Memento.
Diary. Based on novel. I'm enjoying this so much.
I'm not even bothering.
Framed for murder. The answer is Gone Girl.
Those are so broad. They're so broad and generic.
Infidelity, missing wife.
Could be anything. Do you know how many films are made about missing women?
Too many.
Too many. Oh.
Right.
Please give me one I could.
Look, the problem is, George, last time I gave them
get.
to you, you were so good. You got a couple on the first go, so I've had to humble you a little bit. But I still think I'm being fair.
It's not fun.
Okay.
Oh, that's an interesting siren.
Yeah, that's like a secret. That's a secret.
It's not a good secret because I can hear it.
It's like one of those, like, you know, those sirens that, like, you just seeing a civilian car and then it just starts lighting up. Oh, you've been watching the whole time. Okay, film number 4. Ready? Imposter.
The Imposter.
FBI.
Catch Me If You Can.
Yes! Oh! Recovery. 9 points. Just FBI, you got it. 9 points. He recovers. Ooh, you're like the way in which you're like.
I feel like I've gone to the casino to gamble, and I'm already at a massive loss.
You're like, if I just keep doubling on my roulette, eventually, yeah. So that was correct. Catch Me If You Can. So that was Imposter. You got it on FBI. Next was Forgery, Race Against Time, Hostess, Doctor, Inspired by True Events, Fraud, Chasing, Con Artist.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I don't know if you're going to be annoyed at me for this one, for similar. I don't know. Next one. Ready? Guess the film. Police.
Departed.
Vigilante Justice.
Kick-Ass. The Dark Knight.
Investigation.
You bastard. Watchmen.
Torture. Revenge.
These are just so broad. They're just so broad.
Neo-noir.
Again?
Sex offender.
Prisoners.
Yes. Oh, did you say that?
Don't know about you, James,
Straight
but
in.
I know my sex offenders.
Sex offenders, you were like, I know them.
No, but all of those are really broad. But then when you, it's also
I felt bad because I've used neo-noir 3 times.
Yeah, because the torture, Hugh Jackman like really beats up.
Denis Villeneuve film. Yeah, so it was the rest of you could have artist sex offender was Whistle, which would have probably given it away. Religious confession, child abduction. You remember the whistle scene at the very end? Yeah.
Oh God.
Okay.
You really put me through it.
You're doing right. So that was 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You have 5 points for that one. Next film. You ready? Did you get it at home? Okay. Okay, you're going to guess the film in 3, 2, 1. Widower. Gang.
Death Wish.
Teenager.
Oh, God. Kick-Ass.
War veteran.
Gran Torino.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gran Torino. So you got a 10.
film I've
7.
don't think I've ever seen. I think I tried to watch the beginning, first 15 minutes once, and I found it really like wooden and didn't like it. I know people are like, "Oh, you got to watch the film all the way through." I know some people hate it. Some people really like it. All I can say is that Clint Eastwood then made the film Sully in 2016, which is set in early
Bit later,
2009.
oh, right. Okay.
And people don't realize, but he gives himself a little cameo because there's a Gran Torino poster in
is
Times
there?
Square when Sully goes jogging at one point.
What a step. I remember going to...
You've seen it?
Yeah, I've seen Gran Torino. I remember there was a phase where I would like every so often go to HMV and like buy a DVD.
Oh, those were the days.
And I bought Gran Torino, having not seen it, and just went home and watched it. And I didn't watch it again, which is probably something you shouldn't have bought on DVD. You should buy the films you want to watch several times.
Just draining the world's resources.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's a fine watch. It's a real Clint Eastwood like I'm an odd. Listen to me, punk. You know, like grabs this like street gang. It's quite nice when the old man like slaps the street gang kid and like humbles him. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, I random. That is.
I want to go random. That's why. Yeah.
I get it, but I've heard of it.
Yes, you've heard of it, but it's random.
Okay.
For the rest for Gran Torino, so it was widower, gang, teenager, war veteran, Korean war veteran, racism, old man, neighbor, directed by star Ford. So I think you would have
probably would have got that.
Yeah.
But I am also an idiot, so just bear that in mind.
It's right. You're doing really well. You had like really good recovery. Okay, last film you have to guess. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Obesity.
Austin Powers.
Recycling.
The Terminal.
Kiss.
Shallow Hal.
Post-apocalypse.
Obesity in the post-apocalypse. What? Dune.
Starship Captain.
Wally.
Yeah.
Wally.
Oh, what? Obesity in the post-apocalypse? Yeah, George.
That
Obesity.
is a massive mismisdirection. Wally is not.
Hey, it's about. It is post. What do you mean? Of course, it's
No,
post-apocalypse.
but the apocalypse is like it's more like they've moved on. Just Earth.
It's
moved on.
post-apocalypse.
What was the apocalypse? It wasn't,
They ran out of plants.
but over time. It wasn't like suddenly. The apocalypse was gradual. You can't
Well,
have
wait,
a
here's the
gradual
thing.
apocalypse.
Okay, so is when you're acting like in the apocalypse, is that the apocalypse or is post-apocalypse like way after it? When do you count the beginning of the apocalypse and are you post it if it's already gone?
Post-apocalypse is when the apocalypse has happened and you're living in the world that apocalypse has created.
That's
If
not
the
the
sky
apocalypse.
is still falling, that's the apocalypse. If you're walking around in a world full of zombies...
So you didn't get it because it wasn't post-apocalypse?
you know... yeah.
The rest of the ones you could get for Wall-E was Starship Captain, which I said. Did I say that? Yeah.
Yes.
CGI animation, which I think would have led you towards it. Pollution. Adrift in space. Robot. Collecting trash.
I'm going to give you some.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Spin this round.
You're just...
I'll watch it.
Okay. Go to... Okay, fine. Fine.
Right, where's the...
Just go to...
How do I use this?
How do I... What's this...
I'm going to give you one.
All right.
Just because I wanted to have a go. Watching you tease me, okay?
All right. I expect this to be hard, but we'll do our best.
Guess the film in the key words, okay?
Okay.
Guess the film. 3, 2, 1. Orchestral music score.
Fuck you. Star Wars.
Asphyxiation. Computer.
2001 Space Odyssey?
Yes. Well done. Well done. To be fair. So the orchestral music score is obvious. The asphyxiation is asphyxiation in space.
Yeah.
And then the computer, how?
Okay,
The
yeah.
next one's going to be surrealism.
What was the first one again, sorry? Orchestral score,
music,
yeah.
Famous line. Monolith. Yeah, if you
Yeah,
would have got that. And then there's things like Future Shock, Message from Outer Space,
Yeah.
Supercomputer.
Yeah.
That's just a taste. Next time, round 3.
My
The
heart was
gloves
beating.
are
My
off.
heart was beating. To be fair, I've done that to George twice now, so we will do this again Thank you again to Gav Murphy of RKG for the game. It's
Thank
really
you,
good.
Gav.
Go check out RKG. He does really funny stuff on there.
And one more thing.
Yes.
We have episodes every Wednesday. Is that what you're
Yes.
gonna say? Do you
We
want to
do
the
have
outro?
it. Let's do the outro.
We've got episodes? We've got
Webisodes.
episodes every Wednesday.
New
ones.
episodes. Our numbered ones, at least.
Numbered ones, but we actually have loads of other content coming on the channel throughout the week.
We
clips,
do
reviews.
This week, George ranked all his favourite seasons of the US Office and discussed why one was better than the other and what ones you should avoid. If that's something
If that's something you like,
go
look
for
at
that.
it.
We post clips of this on TikTok and Instagram. Follow us on there. If you're listening to this, please leave us a review on Spotify. Go to that little rating thing and click 5 stars. And if you don't think it's 5 stars, then don't do it. Or if you're listening on Apple, do the same. Leave us a review.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Put the notification bell on. We post all that content on YouTube as well.
You're better than this than I am. I'd forgotten all of
I'm
this.
just trying. It's probably because I upload it. It's like, please just build the numbers.
See you next week.
See you next week.